If you're a plastic surgeon or med spa owner, you're likely wondering how much budget you need. If you're about to start Google Ads or any other advertising platform, this is a question that I've been asked by clients more times than I can count in the 2 decades that I have been doing digital advertising. I'm Marjorie, CEO and co-founder of Alpine Analytix. We are a performance marketing agency built specifically for aesthetic and wellness practices. And we help plastic surgeons and med spas and other wellness providers grow profitably with our proven patient acquisition system, as well as our HIPAA compliant lead intelligence platform. There's more videos about that if you're interested in learning more about either of those topics. But back to today. So today's topic is, how much budget do I really need to be successful? And while there isn't an exact perfect science, I have found an approximate way to give you reasonable confidence that you have a budget that is going to be successful, and to give the advertising platforms like Google Ads enough data so that they can intelligently make bidding decisions. And then also another key thing is that I have consulted for other agencies or other in-house teams at companies and organizations throughout my lengthy career. And one thing that I think a lot of people, despite good intentions, they get wrong is they don't do a good job setting clear expectations with their clients up front. And I'm going to touch on that in a second as well. So let's dive in. It's first helpful to understand that in today's landscape, Google Ads and other advertising platforms are powered by AI and machine learning. And that's great because they take into account in real time lots of different signals, like a user's past browsing history, which can be indicative that they're in market for a particular service or product. It can also take into account their geolocation, their device, the time of day, and a whole host of other signals that it would be impossible for a human to manually account for. And so that's the upside of these bidding algorithms that are now AI powered. The important thing to remember, though, is that these algorithms, especially in a brand new account that does not have any data, any conversion or lead data, they need approximately 30 conversions in the last 30 days. And I'd argue that 50 conversions in the last 30 days is even more ideal if your budget can support it, for those algorithms to perform reliably. Don't make the mistake of starving your campaigns with limited budget, because what's going to happen is you'll have low click volume and low conversion volume. And then the other thing that's going to take place is, with a limited budget, Google is attempting to spread out your ad serving throughout the day, because it doesn't want to spend all of your daily budget in the first couple hours of the day, for example. And so your ads will show intermittently. And essentially what happens is you're never able to scale, because the algorithms, they have to have a robust data set of conversions or lead data so that they can understand, okay, these are the clicks that came from these users that led to these conversions. So now I understand, and I have the intelligence required to go out and find additional users and add clicks like those that converted, right? It'll have the data it needs to inform the bidding decisions that the Google Ads algorithms make in real time, every single time someone searches on Google. And so I cannot stress this enough. I have seen multiple advertisers essentially waste their time, money, and resources because they pull the plug prior to the campaigns acquiring the amount of data needed. And so they get frustrated and they, think like, okay, Google Ads isn't working. You need to give it at least 3 months. And of course, this can vary, if you have a large budget and you're able to produce a high volume of click and conversion data in a relatively short amount of time, like 30, 45 days or less, you may see performance stabilize sooner. But just a good rule of thumb, you want to give your Google Ads account 90 days to stabilize. So, because I have been asked this question, do I have enough budget, or what is the budget amount I need to get started in Google Ads? We are going to switch over to a calculator that I had built that lives on our Alpine Analytix website, which you can see the address here for this landing page, and lots of people from my LinkedIn community and people that are in my peer network do often reference this calculator. It's simple math, but it's great to have a visual tool where you can just plug and play with numbers to understand what is a realistic budget. And this is what I walk every single new client through from the beginning. So, for example, let's just go through a couple of different hypothetical scenarios. Oftentimes, clients may have a rough idea of the budget they want to start with. And this could be for various reasons, right? They could have set aside in their quarterly budget a marketing spend line item, and maybe roughly what they could afford is $20,000 that quarter. And so it's not uncommon for, clients to have a rough idea. And so I like to then say, okay, if that's your idea, let's walk through how that spend ladders back to your goals. So we're going to walk through two scenarios, client A and client B. Client A comes to us with the budget in mind, and they say, we have $20,000 to spend over the course of 60 days or $10,000 a month. And we want to put all of that in Google Ads to start. And we want to know, how that is going to pan out from a qualified consult and ultimately booked surgery perspective. So we're going to put in $10,000 here. Then the average cost per click is going to be critical here. And so then this also guides the conversation with the clients, our potential clients, or current clients, where we'll say, well, what procedure are you most interested in promoting? We recommend designing landing pages, custom landing pages for each procedure, because you want the experience for each user to be as relevant as possible. And what I mean by relevant is, if someone were to type in mommy makeover near me, or mommy makeover plus a city like Denver, Beverly Hills, etc., you would want to then have serve them an ad with mommy makeover specific language, and then when they click the ad, you would want to drive them to a custom landing page that has mommy makeover language, mommy makeover FAQs, social proof, a video of the plastic surgery group, recovery times, right? Like, you'd want to have all the other information, but you'd want it to all be specific to that individual procedure. And so when you structure your account this way and you have a separate campaign for each procedure, you can get a very clear read on what the average cost per click is per procedure. Some are more expensive than others. And that is dependent upon, how much competition is in the geolocation that you're targeting for your Google Ads account, that, how many competitors do you have in that same location, targeting campaigns to that same location in your city or metro area that are bidding on these same keywords, these same search terms. So for example, mommy makeover, I'm going to put $20 because that is a reasonable average cost per click that we do see for our clients' mommy makeover campaigns. Then this is simple math. It's the monthly budget divided by the average cost per click, gives us 500 estimated clicks per month. Now, average CVR is an acronym for conversion rate. This is also very important. This is when someone lands on that mommy makeover landing page, how many of them convert or take a desired action on the landing page that you want them to take and that you are tracking. So it could be a live chat, it could be a phone call, it could be a form fill submission for more information. If you have an appointment scheduler on your site or your landing page, it could be someone booking an appointment, and you would want to track all of that. We track all of that for our clients in our HIPAA compliant lead intelligence dashboard, which is very helpful because they can tie qualified consults and ultimately surgical revenue all the way back to a specific keyword and back to these procedural campaigns in Google Ads, and so we know what's working, what's not, and how to optimize and pivot based on that data. I also have another video that talks specifically about our HIPAA compliant lead intelligence dashboard, so I will leave a link to that video in this video description below if you're interested in learning more about that. Okay, so back to this example. So the average conversion rate, I'm going to put 5% here because that is a good benchmark. And so you can see here that the estimated conversions based on this budget, this average cost per click, this number of clicks, and this benchmark average conversion rate is only estimating only 25 conversions per month. This box is orange because that is not enough. So now we know this budget is not large enough if we want to reach 50 conversions per month. You could argue that you could get away with 15 to 30 conversions per month. I think that is the bare minimum, but if you really want to get to a place where your campaigns are performing reliably, and then you can move from maximized conversions as a bidding strategy, that's one of the available AI-powered bidding strategies in Google Ads. You want to move from that to what's called TCPA, which is an acronym, we love acronyms, which is an acronym for target cost per acquisition or target cost per lead in simpler terms. You have to have enough conversion data to do that. If you try to move from a maximized conversions bid strategy in Google Ads, which all it's trying to do is maximize the amount of conversions within the budget you've given it, it's not layering on an efficiency target like the cost per lead goal, the cost per acquisition goal, right? If you try to jump from just maximize conversions to the target CPA bidding strategy too quickly, which is where we ultimately want to go, it just won't have enough data to really understand how to meet your goals. And so this is a very critical part of how you're able to scale your account and scale your conversion volume to a point where it does perform reliably, and you're now in a position to sort of graduate to a more sophisticated bidding strategy like target cost per acquisition, where you have more control over, okay, I know, like, for example, if you wanted to eventually back out mathematically what's profitable for your practice, which is where we ultimately want to take all of our clients over time, once we have enough data, right, we'll start backing out, okay, we understand, I'm making this up, but we understand we've been running this account for 6 months. We have reliable conversion data. We know that, out of 100 leads, 75 of them are qualified leads, 50 of them turn into booked consults, 25 of them turn into booked procedures or surgeries, right? So you get the idea. And then from there, we can also, in our lead intelligence platform, tie revenue and profit for a specific procedure back to that individual person, back to that individual lead, back to that individual campaign in Google Ads, that procedural campaign, and ultimately all the way back to the keyword itself. So you have a full picture of not only the customer journey, but exactly what's working, what your marketing return on investment is, and what your profit on investment is. And so once we have all of that data, then you're able to understand, okay, for this channel, Google Ads, to remain profitable for me, the target acquisition can't be above, $500 as an example, or maybe for some people it's $200, right? For a mommy makeover, it could probably be higher because you tend to make more in those, right? Whereas maybe for a blepharoplasty, um, it might be 200, right? And so on. So you start really having a clear picture of what your target cost per acquisition should be so that each of these procedural or campaigns in Google Ads and Google Ads also as a whole as a channel is profitable for your practice. You will never get to any of that if you underfund your Google Ads account and your Google Ads campaigns, right? You'll never have enough conversion data to get there. And so this is so, so important. So here we're just going to play around with this. We're going to move this up to $12,000. We're at 30 conversions. I'd be okay with starting this maybe at 12 if we just wanted to kind of get the bare minimum here and see if we can get proof of concept. But ideally, you really do want that 50 number. So as you can see, we're just putting in some different amounts here. At $20,000 a month, now you can very reliably reach the amount of conversion data for that mommy makeover campaign that we're using in this example to have reliable data quickly and to shift from a max conversions bid strategy to something that layers in that efficiency target like TCPA or target cost per acquisition. All right, so this is client A. So let's go through another scenario with client B. They have a bigger budget. They want to spend $50,000 a month. All right. Now, this obviously, we have plenty of conversion volume, right? But perhaps they are then moving away from procedural campaigns that have lower average cost per clicks. Breast augmentation, for an example, sometimes has cost per clicks that are $45 per click or higher. And perhaps we're testing a new landing page. And so this conversion rate, as we're getting started, maybe it's a little bit lower because we're continually refining and making improvements. And so as you can see, when you adjust these levers, this output for estimated conversions changes. And so, this budget that looks really hefty may not be enough as you get into more expensive procedural campaign types. So then, we have a little bit of control over the average CPC. There are certain best practices and optimizations that we can do on our end to try to lower the average CPC, but it's ultimately determined by the amount of competitors in that auction that are also bidding on those same procedural keywords. So there's only so much that we have control over there. You have more control over the conversion rate on the landing page. So, for example, all of our custom designed landing pages are very mobile friendly because a lot of traffic nowadays across all industries comes through mobile. So your landing pages should really have a mobile first user in mind. And they're all designed according to conversion rate optimization best practices, and that's just a fancy terminology for the page is laid out structurally in a way that has been proven with lots and lots of data across lots and lots of landing page tests and lots of industries, in a way that users are more likely to take the desired action that you want them to take on site or convert. So we could be doing a little bit of landing page testing here, and we're able to improve this to 4%. Okay, or this is getting better. I'm almost comfortable with this, and then let's take it up to 4.5. There we go. So I can just walk all of my clients through these various scenarios, and it's a great way to not only educate them, set clear expectations, but to really just show them visually with a mathematical tool based on benchmarks and our client data, as well as just all of the experience that I've had with going through these conversations over 2 decades with various clients, that prompted me to create this. It's just a great way to have those discussions and really just align on what are your goals and what kind of budget do you need, and then being able to clearly show them some different scenarios so that you all can agree upon if Google Ads is a viable channel, based on the investment that they're willing to put behind it. It does work, but again, you've got to give it what it needs to perform reliably. Hope this was helpful. If you're interested in learning more about Alpine Analytix, I will leave a link to our website in the video description below. And if you are a practice that's looking for a strategic growth partner, I would love to talk to you. I will also leave a link to my calendar where you're welcome to book a free strategy call.